Alright, got it landed. Got my number 6s landed right here on my 16 amp breaker, neutral ground. If you remember me saying earlier about how the neutrals and grounds only get landed together at the main service disconnects. Here's your power coming in from PG&E. Comes up to here on those lugs, and that bar right there in the middle is the neutral. And that bar goes across behind the hot. It goes up on these bars here. And then here you have your U for ground that's connected to the ground, comes in, and then you have a cold water and gas bond that's also landed on there. That bonds your metal gas piping and water in the house. And these newer houses have PEX, so that could just be a gas bond. But the reason why your neutrals and grounds land here all together is the only way to clear a fault is to bring it back to the source. People that think, oh, drive a ground rod. Well, driving a ground rod, if you got high resistance, simple Ohm's law tells you that won't clear a fault. You can tie a 20 amp breaker right to a ground rod, turn it on. As long as it doesn't have super low resistance, which normally they don't, nothing will happen. So if you had a fault out in past this panel out in the house to ground, what's happening is that ground is bringing that fault path back here to the neutral, which allows for a high inrush current to trip the breaker. So that's why your grounds and neutrals are landed together here, and you don't need to do it anywhere else. Actually, by code, you don't do it anywhere else except for right here at the main service disconnect. So like I said, you have a fault to ground. That ground wire is the path back to the source, which is the neutral, which if your fault is on this breaker here on the hot wire and it faults to ground, now this hot wire is attached to the ground wire. That ground wire is bringing the fault back to the neutral bar, which allows for a low resistance path back to the source, which will be a high inrush amperage, which will be over the 20 amps or 15 amps, and it'll trip the breaker super fast. So that's how you clear a fault, is to get it back to the source, not drive a ground rod or any of that crap that people say.